As the House gears up to vote on the impeachment of President Trump, the president fired back with a letter to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Trump denounced the impeachment effort as a partisan coup. For more on what we should be watching today in Washington and on Wall Street, let's welcome on the Rhino side, Judd Gregg, who served as both governor and senator for the state of New Hampshire. On the Dino side, Evan Bayh, former governor and also senator from Indiana. We're going to have agreement, basically. You guys are like somewhere in that netherworld in the middle. Have I got that right, Judd, or am I wrong?
I usually agree with Evan. I'm a big admirer of Evan. I think he's a super guy. As I agree with you, Joe, although you moved a little far. You moved a little far left. I have to admit you're moving left.
I'm moving left. I'm with Mrs. Gregg. You know that. You're more conservative.
Then you're moving hard right.
Hey, Evan, I'll start with you because I just looked up something on Google Maps. I was trying to see how far Indianapolis was from Peoria, because I'm trying to figure out how this is playing in the Midwest, and you would know in Indiana. What we're really trying to figure out is that the impeachment that we're going through today, is it helping one side more than the other, or is it just helping both bases get even more tribal and more entrenched in their position? What do you really think? What are you hearing in Indiana?
Well, probably both. And my hometown of Terre Haute is even closer to Peoria.
It is. I saw that. Yeah, I was going to look Terre Haute up.
First, let me return Judd's compliment. He's a good friend. And what you're talking to two former governors governors have to get things done. We have to be pragmatic. So happy holidays to Judd and to all of you. Look here, Joe, I think what's going on is, out in the country, folks probably think, look, what the president did in Ukraine wasn't quite right. But what does this have to do with me? What does this have to do with my job security, the cost of my health care, the cost of college? So my concern is for my friends in the Democratic Party, I think what they may be doing here is counterproductive, because what really matters is the next election. We know what's going to happen in the House. We know what's going to happen in the Senate. What we don't know is what's going to happen in the next election. And if the Democrats look like they're pursuing a course here that's divorced from that 6 or 8% out there in Peoria that really wants us to focus on the issues, my concern is it may actually help Donald Trump in his reelection campaign and eventually be self-defeating for the Democrats.
Judd?
Well, I agree with that. I think most people, they go about their day. They don't think too much about this whole issue. And in fact, it is not a serious issue in everybody's everyday life. It is, unfortunately, a very serious issue constitutionally, because removing an elected official, the President of the United States, with an unelected process, that's serious. And unfortunately, the House Democrats, in my opinion, have really trivialized it. Hating the president is not grounds for impeachment. It's not a high crime and misdemeanor, but that's at the core of what this is all about. And in fact, to carry Evan's point a little further, they're almost turning the president into a sympathetic figure here, which I would have thought was virtually impossible to do, but they are, because this is so outrageous to pursue this course. And it is totally divorced from what most people are confronting in their everyday issues of raising their families, going to their jobs, getting their education. It's just not in touch with Main Street America, at least here in New Hampshire.
Judd, you've written, Senator Gregg, Governor Gregg, you've written recently about, I was kidding about Republican in name only, but you think President Trump is conservative in name only. And you've got a lot of problems, I think, with not addressing maybe entitlements and a bloated government spending, and that's one of your problems. But you must be picking and choosing, because there's certain things, whether it's tax reform or deregulation, because where the economy is right now is obviously something that most conservatives would take some pride in. It's just, it's not across the board for you.
There's no question but that this president has been extremely successful in the area of tax reform and reducing the regulatory interference with our marketplace. But on issues like spending, we've added more debt in the last 3 years than we have in our history. On issues like dealing with our allies, where he goes to London and he basically insults the countries that have stood beside us for years, and they're critical to us going forward in this fight against terrorism. On issues of just defining our nation up rather than defining it down. The president's supposed to be the light for the future, not a negative force about where we are. And I think the president has some stylistic issues, and he has some substantive issues if you're a conservative. But I give him 100% marks on cutting taxes and reducing regulations and moving this economy forward where it had been stalled.
Senator Bai, and you know, everybody remembers your dad, and what a, you know, you're a great political family and everything, and you obviously are observing the Democrat nominating process here. I guess I can't get you to speak totally frankly. Do you ever shake your head and just in wonderment, or what do you think is going to finally happen? What would you like to happen? What do you think is going to happen?
In the Democratic Party, Joe?
In the nominating process for the 2020 November election.
Yeah. Well, you know, I did grow up.
You got a favorite?
You know, I'm a bit old school in this regard, and my friendship with Judd and several of my other Republican colleagues is a demonstrative of that. My father used to have very close Republican friends. They used to come over to our home for dinner. They'd disagree on policy. They'd disagree about some things like that. But at the end, they were Americans first. And they knew that we had more in common than we do that divides us. And so my hope for my party is that we nominate somebody who can actually speak to the middle that you talked about there in Peoria and help bring us together. Articulate an agenda of change for the country. Don't sell out your policies, but don't demonize people who've been successful. That's not right, just as other sorts of division aren't right. So not surprisingly...
Who would that be?
Well, I think Joe Biden can speak to that. I think Amy Klobuchar can speak to that. Perhaps Mayor Buttigieg from my home state can speak to that. Michael Bloomberg in some ways might be able to speak to that. But not a polarizing figure that will just further divide the country, because we are a great nation and we can have a great future. But we all got to realize we're in this together and eventually find some kind of common ground to move forward together. And we're just not getting that now.
So in a word, Judd, you think this helps, the impeachment helps the Republicans more, the Democrats more? And same question to you, Evan. Judd, you start.
I think it's the non-event. I don't think it's going to influence the next election at all. I think the next election will be influenced by bases. Both bases are very activist right now, but more importantly by the economy. If the president maintains this economy into the next election, he's in good shape, I think.
All right. How about you, Senator Bai?
I would agree with that. I think it's for most people a non-event. For that 6% in the middle who will decide the election, they want us to focus on the issues that matter in their daily lives. I think it all depends, Joe. I think if we nominate someone who's perceived as being a divisive candidate on the far left, I think that really helps President Trump. If we nominate someone who's more to the middle, who tries to bring the country together, I give a slight advantage to the Democrats. So it really comes down to which path the Democrats choose. And the course of the economy, which right now looks like it's pretty strong, and that all, as you know, tends to favor the incumbent.
Okay. How far is Versailles? I love Versailles. I just like that it's called Versailles. It's
well,
like Lima, Joe, Ohio. I like when we do that.
Peru.
We should invite you to French Lick, Joe, as we say.
I've been there. I love French. Last time I was there, it needed to be updated.
No, it's as we say, French Lick, Indiana. Nice place, but not quite as interesting as it sounds.